Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
What up, Vince?
And it's time once again to
Recommend things,
Vince. What do you recommend today, sir?
The end.
Are you recommending Critics?
I'm recommending boxed sets. You should check one out. They're kind of neat, as long as it's good stuff on it. Anyway, I'm recommending The Critic. I love this show.
Oh, I love that show.
Oh,
too.
my God, man. This show came out around 95 or so, 94, something like that. And I really liked it. It was kind of one of those late night things for me. I would catch it and I'd be like, that was really funny, whatever that was. And at some point over the years, I would catch a couple episodes and I would never know what it was called because I'd always tune in late. And it would never occur to me, watch the credits because I was like, it's really funny, but it's late. I'd turn it off. So at some point, I figured out what it was, binge watched the whole thing when I had the opportunity, and I thought it was so funny. And then years later, I remembered it existed, and here it is. I put it on a wish list. My wife wanted me to make a wish list of things, and I got The Critic as a result. So it makes sense that a couple guys like us would enjoy The Critic. Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
And mainly because I think old Cap here should have it because he and the character share a namesake.
Yeah, that's right.
Jay. And so...
Well, it's such good social commentary about the over-commercialization of film.
Yeah, and it's also good commentary on how people tend to see critics about just being snobby and it's...
how easy their job is and that there's not really any talent it takes to do it
and their taste tends to lean towards boring crap.
Yeah, sure. They're pretentious.
But he's friends with a guy who makes, let's say, unpretentious movies. Like, he's friends with a character that is supposed to be Crocodile Dundee-esque.
Yeah.
Some famous Australian actor, whatever he is. He's just supposed to be this hunk. And so you have the main character, the critic, who's kind of dumpy and silly looking and based on John Lovitz. And who is voiced by John Lovitz.
And Lovitz isn't even doing a voice; it's just John Lovitz.
Yeah, it's his voice. What's funny to me is the back of this thing says, "John Lovitz provides Jay's distinctive voice as a single father who searches for happiness." It's written there.
Yeah.
No, it's not. But I love John Lovitz in this. No pun intended. I think he's so quirky, and he's the perfect choice for this. And regardless of whether it was written for him or not, this stuff all just feels natural. It's an animated sitcom. It's great. This is something I highly recommend for anybody out there.
Yeah, it's of course kind of in a Simpsons vein, although it has its own brand of comedy.
Yeah.
It's obviously that wouldn't have existed if it hadn't been for the popularity of the Simpsons, which was still super popular but still fairly young at that point.
I would say this also has some like cultural echoes. Like I would say that at least part of Family Guy's style is kind of birthed out of something like this.
I was going to say that
because there's these like strange non sequiturs.
I think this is smarter than Family Guy.
I do too. Because I feel like Family Guy at some point just tried to appeal to an audience. This thing only had like a season and a half.
2 seasons.
That's right.
It only had like 20-something episodes. The question is, would this have also degenerated had it been on too long?
Yeah, that's
because
fair.
It is one of those things that it's kind of sad that it got canceled before it I think deserved to, but then at the same time, we might remember it better. It might be more of a beloved cult thing, like I think it sort of is, if it weren't for that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a super popular thing, but it definitely has a cult status. This is, by the way, the second time The Critic has come up on this channel. I did a pop culture yearbook on it.
Oh yeah,
with Manos once, yeah. And like that's it's funny that you and I both love this show so much because like you're recommending it. I've done a whole video on it.
This thing. It also contains the webisodes for anybody who's interested, which the webisodes are also pretty funny. And it even contains the menu screens from the webisodes that had quirky comments like Bill Paxton and Bill Pullman are effectively the same guy.
That's
things
really
like
funny.
That. And I mean, it's such a great show.
One of my favorite things from that show is still Hee Haw, the next generation.
Oh God, I love it.
Not to mention the Dryer Channel joke.
There's something that I really wanted to say about it. I would almost say that shows like this that have some kind of direction and refuse to adapt to crowd please are almost doomed to live a shorter lifespan.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Because
they don't appeal to a mass audience necessarily.
They say, we're going to make our show. It's going to be good, and we're not going to change. And they say, well, it's not getting the gangbuster ratings that we wanted it to, so we're going to cancel it unless you change these things. Well, we're not going to change these things. Well, I'm sorry, but things that are not like Family Guy, you're not going to survive. Because, you know, I guarantee that if Family Guy were like Season 1, it wouldn't have lasted as long as it did. So, because Family Guy Season 1 was clever and had plot lines that kind of made sense, regardless of whether they were silly or overwrought. You could follow it from beginning to end, as opposed to just a collection of skits tossed together.
To survive, it needed to get to more of a least common denominator place.
Yeah, and now it's just, we thought this was funny and we put it on screen. So it's almost like watching a stand-up act that's pretending to have a narrative. This is not like that. This is really interesting.
Well, and that's, I think, one of the reasons, that, ironically, that The Simpsons survived was because, you know, except for certain seasons people really hate, by and large, it retains coherent storytelling. Mm-hmm. You know, there are certainly episodes that don't do that are a little bit more like Family Guy, but I mean, like you know, so it's kind of funny that Family Guy had to go to more of a almost variety show thing.
I would almost say, yeah, indeed,
sort of.
I would almost say that not Family Guy, Simpsons lasted so long because it kind of got in at the ground floor of that idiot dad thing. Because before then we had things like Father Knows Best and blah blah and hoo-da-ha, go to the church thingy. But it's a great show if you ever see it. Check it out. But
after the fourth season, they chopped the title down to half that.
And then at some point, it's it changes over to kids being smarter than the parents, and then at some point, it's the dad being the idiot, and that's where Simpsons had its edge because it was one of the first ones to do it well, and. It's just kept it going. Now we have things where the dad's an idiot all the time. I mean,
I guess there's a G and N in this, and maybe we should save some of these questions. I was going to add, but let me ask you this really quick. Why do you think King of the Hill lasted as long as it did?
It's a good question. I'm not sure, because, that thing predates even the big redneck movement we had in pop culture.
I think it coincides with it. I think it's right there with it, yeah.
Because I would say that's at least at the beginning if it's there.
But it's right there with Jeff Foxworthy, right? Like those things started about the same time.
You know, the thing that I don't quite understand about King of the Hill is that it doesn't... it mocks certain things about that really conservative... Southern-esque or Southern society.
Right.
It mocks certain things about that, but it also glorifies some of it, and the dad in that is not an idiot.
No, yeah, that's the whole reason I brought it up. Yeah.
Hank Hill is a guy who has some brains in his head. He's just kind of silly, set in his ways. And
you never thought you would see that thing last, 9-10 seasons? Was it even more than that?
I wonder if some people liked it because it was kind of flattering of their own childhood. You know what I mean?
And maybe it was also because it was so different, because it's really deadpan.
Yeah.
Comparatively.
There are a lot of people that hate that show.
And not as surreal and weird as Family Guy and shows like that.
They tried to do something not too long ago that was kind of the antithesis to King of the Hill, where it was in the same vein, but it was a bunch of hippies. And
really, what was it?
I forget the name of it. Anybody who remembers it I'm not going to say they were hippies, but they were extremely liberal, touchy-feely people. And it wasn't endearing, and there was really nothing about it that you could really latch onto, because it was people having similar life struggles that you would have in King of the Hill, but these people were just not as charming, I suppose. I think that maybe part of the success of it is that Hank Hill is an interesting character, and a lot of his friends satisfy that kind of dumb stereotype, so you kind of get different crowds pleased with King of the Hill. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. But what do you recommend, Kevin?
I love that you brought this over. This is such a great show. Also, the Siskel and Ebert episode.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. Anyway, today I recommend a video game. This is a game that I got for Christmas. We just got a Wii U, and we got a DC Scribblenauts Unmasked. This is so much fun. So Scribblenauts is a game that I already really liked. I think I've done a recommend on it, and I've got Scribblenauts. I've got Super Scribblenauts for both for the DS, and then they started making them on platforms, which I was like, how's that going to work? With the Wii U, it makes perfect sense because you've got the gamepad, and so you can type things in. You would not want to have to play Scribblenauts with a controller because it's all text-based, or it's partially text-based. So if you don't know what Scribblenauts is, briefly, I'll just tell you that it's kind of a puzzle slash platformer where you're given situations that you have to weird, quirky situations that you have to solve by creating objects and people and things. By typing in anything you can think of that might solve a situation, and pretty much anything that you could possibly come up with that your imagination could conjure is in the game. And that's one of the things that's the thing that's amazing about it, is just how huge the vocabulary in this thing is. And it's amazing. I mean, you have to think about the fact that somebody had to sit down, or a bunch of people, I'm sure, had to sit down and design all of these little things. You know,
Webster and all of his buddies.
Somebody might write pole. We better draw a pole and put that in there. Everything, all of these objects you could possibly come up with have to have properties, you know. So with this one is a very different beast. It's still Scribblenauts and it still works that way, except that it's more story based. I never thought I'd see a story based Scribblenauts game. You go through, you have different locations, you have different cities in the DC universe. So you can go to Gotham, you can go to Atlantis, you can go
that's cool.
Yeah, you can go to the Fortress of Solitude, you can go to the Justice League headquarters. There's all these cool different locations, and you unlock them as you solve problems and build your money to buy things. And so instead of like you pick a mission and you have to solve this very short mission that's in this very little environment that's kind of in a box, like a normal Scribblenauts. Here it's like you have a whole city that's in 2 or 3 levels, and then all of these problems pop up as you walk along. So like you'll walk along and you'll come up to somebody and it'll be like, I lost my dog. So you like go find his dog, or I need to eat something tasty. So then like you create food and then you give it to him. Whatever it is. Some things are very hard to figure out how to do, and some things are incredibly easy. And that's one of the things I like about Scribblenauts is the variety of difficulties, because it kind of throws you for a loop. You have something, you're like, how could it be this easy? And then you come up on something else and you're like, I have no idea what in the world I'm going to do to solve this. And it really makes you use your brain. It really makes you expand your creativity, think of words you wouldn't usually have to use, really mine that vocabulary. A couple times I don't mind admitting, I've had to go to a thesaurus, because every now and again you'll have a thing where you'll need to come up with a lot of the same kind of thing, but come up with a lot of synonyms for it, to score to get the best kinds of scores, it wants you to use as many different words as you can. So you're gonna constantly be trying to think of synonyms of things, So yeah, I mean, it's a great it's kind of like crossword puzzles. It's really good to make you think about all the words that you know. With the DC one, it's extra fun if you're people like us, because it also makes you mine your knowledge of the DC universe. And good Lord, have you played this yet?
No.
Good Lord, this thing has everything. I've not thought of a character that's not in this. Freaking Resurrection Man.
Really?
Yeah. Everybody's in this. Again, they're all designed, they all have their own properties, and that's one of the things I'm really impressed with, is that they're not all just like a kind of a stick figure that looks like a character, but then they all kind of do the same things. No, they have all the properties you'd expect them to. If you create Martian Manhunter, when he starts fighting, he turns invisible. Like everybody's got the properties they're supposed to have. There are multiple versions of everyone. You can put in the Gotham by Gaslight Batman.
I noticed they had like 8 different Batmans on the back of this thing.
Yep, there's a lot of different Batman. There's a lot of there's a lot of different Superman,
super dudes.
And so anyway, that's a whole lot of fun, and it's funny because like I said, it makes you mind your vocabulary, but also it makes you feel like a complete geek because you're like, oh man, I have to come up with all of this kind of DC trivia. There's one place there's places where you almost feel like you're taking a trivia quiz. There's one place. Ola is one of the places you can go.
Oh yeah.
And there's this place where one of the Green Lanterns, I forget who, is like I need 3 Earth-based Green Lanterns. So you have to come up with 3 people who have been Green Lanterns and type them in.
I think I can do this.
Okay, go ahead.
John Stewart, Kyle Rayner, Hal Jordan. Guy Gardner.
Guy Gardner was the other one I used, yeah. Well done. But anyway, so yeah, it's really fun. It's incredibly vast, and I think they were smart to do it this way. It's all text-based in that there's no voice acting in the game. You read everything, which, it's a word game, so I'm kind of fine with that. I like that.
And also, could you imagine them possibly doing this and recording voiceovers?
Well, yeah, and I mean, yeah, that's true, because they have so many characters that you can create that you'd almost want them all to have a voice if they did that.
We get one of these out of every 25 years.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly.
Let's start making it now.
I was really a little bit trepidatious when they announced that the Lego games were going to start having voice acting, and then that totally worked and was really great. I'm glad they haven't done that with this, and I kind of hope that they don't attempt it because
I don't think they could.
Yeah,
Well, I suppose they could. They just have to cut everything down.
It's kind of fun that they've made it continue to look kind of limited and stuff, but then it's really vast also because of what it is. Anyway, I don't know. I think it's incredibly fun. I'm only a little ways into it. I think I've beat maybe 3-4 bosses so far. This is also, by the way, I remember I did that rant a couple weeks ago about boss fights and how I don't like them. This is a game where the boss fights are some of the most fun things because you have to come up with words to create objects to beat these bosses, and they all have different kinds of ways that you can kill them.
Superman with laser phaser dazer.
There are not a lot of more customizable video games, I think, than Scribblenauts, because there's so many, or maybe customizable is not the right word, but varieties of ways to do things. You play through this game once, and you're going to want to do it again, and probably again, because there's a million different ways, to get through things on it. Anyway, I highly recommend this. I think this is fantastic. There's a regular Scribblenauts game for Wii U that I've not bought yet, and I may recommend it when I finally play it. I want to do a playthrough on this on the channel because I think it would be really fun to do that. Because again, there's so many different ways you could do this. That seeing different people play this, I think, would potentially be kind of fun. So
I'd love to play that. Just to see what I could come up with.
Yeah.
Carpax, the indestructible man. Holy crap! I've not tried it. I don't know. I'm just kind of curious.
Is that a thing?
That's a thing.
Oh, we should see if that's in here.
I'm pronouncing his name wrong.
I'm sure not everyone that ever existed is in this, but I know there's at least a couple thousand. I mean, it's.
I was reading a Blue Beetle comic today, and the indestructible man was in it.
Maybe I don't know if we can find the time. Maybe you and I could sit down and play this and record it.
If Resurrection Man's in there, Blue Beetle has to be.
Well, Blue Beetle's in here, certainly. Yeah. Well, and what's funny too is I've already run into a lot of characters that I thought would have been too obscure to just show up. Like maybe you could type them in, but they wouldn't just show up. But no, I mean, there's all kinds of random people and people I've never heard of just showing up. Yeah, it's really cool. Well, anyway, thanks as always, everybody, for watching us recommend things, and we'll recommend something for you once again next week. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Vince.
See you later.